trying to disrupt Rondo. He puts it in. Here's Davis, 4-3 in the win. Oh, it's good! Anthony Davis has won it for the Lakers!
Great anticipation and then vision. And a great spurt by the Lakers. Kuzma steal. Up to Caruso. Yes! Timeout. The Gulf is probably ahead of the play. James with the reverse. Slam dunk.
Show us something, LeBron, here.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Geek Show. Another week has passed and here we are again. You didn't hear from us for a while and now you've got 2 in a week. Isn't that a treat? I've been looking forward to this all week. We are back with a vengeance. Looking forward to this. As always, Jonathan joins me. How are you doing today, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good. For once, it's a sunny day in Ireland, so yeah, I'm happy.
Yep, it's the opposite here. It's absolutely peeing it down. Good.
Yeah, too much good weather over there, so good.
Before we jump in, be sure to follow LA Lakers UK on Twitter and Instagram. As you can see, at the top, we've got a new little layout. So LA Lakers UK, go and drop us a follow. Go and look at our pinned tweet for instructions of how to receive 10% off your order at NBA Store EU and Fanatics. That does include worldwide delivery, so check that out. Also, if you're on Apple, please drop a 5-star review on the Late Late Show on Apple Podcasts. And if you're watching on the live stream, drop us a retweet. It'll be much appreciated, and both things do help the show grow further. So let's start. What has happened this week? We've had wins. We've had a lot of wins. Wins on wins on wins. We've had tense endings, very close games. We've had no point guards. We've had to rely to point Kuz and THT playing point guard. We've had a banner reveal, which was fantastic. We had a franchise record for points in the paint, which was unexpected. We had LeBron James returning and then not returning and then returning. And we had Anthony Davis becoming Anthony Davis of old, dropping big games. But we will jump straight in. Last night, how can we not speak about it, was the Kobe Bryant Hall of Fame induction. Did you watch it? What did you think?
I didn't get to catch it initially, but I woke up really early, like at 3 o'clock in the morning, and was watching clips of it. It's generally hard to put into words still, but Vanessa Bryant, the one thing I will say above all else, she is an absolute warrior, absolute inspiration. She spoke so eloquently on stage about Kobe, and you could tell that she was close to being on the verge of tears half the time, but she was able to kind of, I'm getting a bit emotional thinking about it now, but it's just, she was able to kind of maintain herself and just do amazingly. So fair play to her, and respect to Kobe for getting to the Hall of Fame. He worked his entire career to get there, and respect to him and his family now. Just, again, it's really hard to talk about, but delight for them, and I was really thrilled just to see her represent Kobe so well.
Yeah, I think most importantly, it was incredibly emotional, but it was a celebration of his life and what he did achieve. You saw that when Vanessa was kind of at the start, she was kind of poising herself. You could tell that, I put it in the group chat earlier today, that the Mamba mentality was rolling through her. You could see that she was right, I step up to this. I will present this the best I can. And she nailed it. I thought the whole ceremony was fantastic, to be honest with you, for all of the Hall of Fame inductees. I'll be honest with you, it's the first time I've watched one all the way through. I've only seen the odd speech every now and then. But yeah, I thought it was really good. The one before Kobe was Tim Duncan, and I haven't really been.
You said he did amazingly.
Yeah, I haven't really been much of a fan of Tim Duncan over the years. I mean, obviously over Lakers, Spurs, obviously not. But as a guy, I never really connected with him. But when it has their stories at the beginning, and then he kind of gave a nice speech and things like that, it was really cool. And props to Kevin Garnett as well. Obviously a Celtic, but what he achieved in his career was absolutely remarkable. And yeah, he fully deserved, and he gave a cool speech right at the beginning as well. He asked to go first. but yeah, all in all, like it was I was on the verge of like tears watching it, but it was a wonderful ceremony.
You'd have to be heartless if it just not be kind of have like a even lump in the back of your throat watching that. It's just the one thing I think it just kind of crystallizes that I think we already knew. It's just how much the NBA community as a whole thought of Kobe Bryant. Like he was like one of the toughest competitors you'll ever come across, and you could hate him at that time for just like he beat your team, and he did it like with a smile on his face and like kind of ice in his veins. But the thing you'll never take away, that I think every fan will take away from Kobe Bryant, is that you might have hated him, but you damn well respected him. You respected the work he put in and the level of dedication he put into his craft. Like, you can't not do that. And it shows that the rest of the NBA community thought the same. Just, it'll be forever missed, but it'll be forever remembered.
Yeah, 100%. And I did a few tweets last night kind of in reflection. So, if you want a bit more of like my viewpoint of it all, go and have a look there. I would it's just the way I cope with things. I'd rather not bring it back up too much again, because it is tough. But as I saw circulating on social media last night, is Kobe actually had 2 Hall of Fame careers, number 8 and number 24, which is absolutely remarkable. So yeah, it was a fantastic tribute, and we will jump in. So highlights of the week. Spent very short amount of time on this, but there was obviously a lot of wins. They had very strong wins against the Suns and the Knicks. You heard that correctly. The Knicks are actually good at basketball again now. The Knicks one was obviously very close. But what were like some of your standouts of the week? What do you pinpoint over the past 7 days?
Well, from a selfish point of view, one of my best friends is a Knicks fan. He's living in Canada at the moment, so shout out to Ronan. But he's a huge Knicks fan. Like, he's been talking them up for the last while, and like, fair play to them. They've finally gotten a good coach, but it's just really sweet to kind of beat the Knicks and beat them in overtime that close. So that was great. Suns game, I think, was really kind of impactful as well. AD showing off that he can, to a certain extent, he's back in close to playoff form. And even last night against the Pacers, it was just good to see us get a good win against a pretty solid team. Obviously, they were a bit injured. And LeBron, actually, I might be 100% wrong, and if I am, I do apologize. But didn't LeBron finish with 24 and 8?
Yep. 8 assists. 8 assists?
Yeah. That was, I don't know why, but the second I saw it, watched the stat line after the game, I was just again, I don't mean to be on an emotional buzz, but another kind of lump in my throat. Was felt like on the day in which it was just kind of really kind of nice to see that he had that good stat line. But yeah, really strong week, and I think it was something the Lakers really needed. They really needed kind of a galvanization after obviously a bunch of injuries, which hasn't really helped. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty strong week for the Lakers. What about you? What do you think? What was your favorite kind of highlight from the week?
So yeah, I thought that the Suns win was very important. I thought that it showcased our ability to really lock in on the defensive end in terms of the 1 till 3. We kept Chris Paul quiet as you can keep Chris Paul. You know what I mean? He still ended up with a very solid double-double, but I think he only accumulated 14 points. The majority of them were in the second half, I think. Devin Booker, we managed to contain. He actually kept switching on AD and was like, yeah, I've got him. And then it was nah, mate. As soon as he extends his arm, you don't stand the chance. So I thought that showcased our defensive versatility from last season. LeBron's return, obviously, 24, 8, and 7 in his return against the Pacers last night. I thought that Pacers game, we showed flashes, especially offensively, of what this team is capable of when we're running strong. Because towards the end of that game, I know it was a bit close. I know the Lakers gave up a few runs, but it was relatively comfortable, I thought, in my opinion. I wasn't as worried about it as some people were when the runs were being given up. AD, very strong performances. We saw a 42-point performance against Phoenix. Very strong 28-point performance against the Pacers. Probably could have got a little bit more, but he kept falling out of rhythm a little bit in that one, because what's the point in overplaying them, in games like that? But the highlight of the week for me has to be the Knicks win. It has to be Taylor Horton Tucker's performance. When I say that, I don't mean just positives. I mean, there was some negatives in there as well.
Turnover was
so
and then he turned it around. So fair play to him. But that turnover, I was ready to tear my hair out.
It's a perfect segue. So Tim Horton took a hit, a game winner over Derrick Rose, who is his childhood idol. So that brings us perfectly into where are you at with Taylor Horton Tucker? What do you think about him as a prospect? What do you think about his week? And do you think he'll contribute in the playoffs?
I'll start with the last question. I personally am very much of the belief that Taylor Horton Tucker can be impactful during the playoffs. I think his versatility, especially with his ball handling and potential playmaking, especially if he's sticking with the second unit, is going to be pretty important, especially if they keep Schroeder in the starting lineup. He's developing slowly, but don't get me wrong. He's shown like really good bursts of potential, like really high level potential. Like we've had the same with numerous players over the last couple of years. We had it with Brandon Ingram, we had it with Alonzo Ball, we had it with Kuz. We just need to trust the players trust the process of they're going to develop into pretty good players. We have a good eye for talent in terms of the Lakers scouting department. They've done really well. I think he has a role to play long term with the Lakers. Hopefully, they can get a decent deal from this season to keep him there long term. But yeah, I think he had a really strong week. He's had some up and down plays, but again, the Knicks' performance and finishing off and getting the game winner over Derrick Rose, it was like that's important for him as a player. That gives him a huge boost of confidence, especially going into the playoff time, knowing that he can do it against. Well, I wouldn't call Derrick Rose a superstar anymore, but do him against stars. He has the potential, and there's a good chance someone like Wes Matthews could beat him out for one of the depth spaces on the roster. But I think he's given as good as he's getting at the moment, and yeah, he could very easily be part of the playoff roster.
Yeah, obviously we see a comment here by B-Boy saying that he thinks THT will come up clutch in the playoffs, which has been quickly followed by a comment from Amandeep, our very own Amandeep, saying we're winning the chip, no doubts. There's a lot of confidence flying around here at the moment, and there's a lot of confidence flying around Taylor Horton Tucker. I think one thing which is very important is you were mentioning Brandon Ingram, you were mentioning Kyle Kuzma. This is a second round pick. This is someone that shouldn't even be in the Lakers rotation, to be honest with you. There's no right for him to be at that point. This is someone that was playing in the G League last season. So I think in terms of his development, I think he's developing very quickly. You saw 13-10 against the Knicks, 23-10 against Houston, 10 assists they are. He showcased immense IQ when dishing out assists and playmaking. It's some of them wrap around assists after a drive to the basket are just incredible. His length is absolutely incredible. I think defensively he could tune up a little bit. I think his length is to be tapped into. I think there is potential for him to be an absolute, I won't say elite defender, but to be a very, very good defender in this league. I think, and I've been using this quite a lot throughout the week. I did a tweet on it as well. And I think Phil, who's in our group chat, Phil Sizemore, shout out to him, nailed it perfectly. And he said that THT plays beyond his level at the moment. So he sees players that he can't quite pull off at the moment. And that's where you're seeing the strange bounce pass into Andre Drummond's knees in the post where it just doesn't work. But I think when we see his level build up, I think his potential's scary. I think the ceiling for him is, we won't say the ceiling just yet because that's in our mailbag a little bit later, but I think the potential is huge there. But I think he does need to improve. He just needs to allow the game to come to him sometimes instead of rushing plays, bundling into the paint, then being on the block, and he's all of a sudden rushing to get it out into the wings, which sometimes he pulls off, but sometimes he panics, and it's kind of dumb. But yeah, the confidence that he showed in that game winner was incredible. I think it was a play built up for AD as well, and he totally ignored it and just drained it. I think for a 20-year-old, he holds incredible promise, and he has to be kept. And that's why he wasn't in the Kyle Lowry trade.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing, like you mentioned there, is like the confidence. Like, it is so good to see. Like, and again, I know I'm bringing up Kobe, and I'm definitely not comparing THT to Kobe. But sometimes you need a guy who's 20 years old, 20 years old, who has that kind of confidence in himself to know that the shot might not fall. Kobe against Utah in his rookie season had 3 air balls, but he had the confidence to take them 3 shots that a lot of like veterans on the team weren't willing to take.
Yeah, so which is crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You need guys like that who are willing to take them shots, who are willing to kind of put their balls on the line and be like, I'm going to try and make this shot. I believe I can. And that's a really rare trait to see from THT. And yeah, he has again, we're going to talk about it later, but his potential is big.
Yeah, definitely. And we're getting a few live questions in here. So do hold on. We have got a mailbag a little bit later on. So obviously the podcast isn't going to be like 4 hours long. So just stay with us and we will get on to, I don't think it's going to be 4 hours long anyway. We're going to get on to some of the mailbag questions. So any live questions that are coming in, do hold on to them. Well, obviously just stay tuned and then we'll come back to them a little bit later with the mailbag. If you're obviously listening back to this on the podcast, send us over a tweet. I think my DMs are open, but my personal DMs are open. Just say this is a question for the Late Late Show and we'll include it in next week's show or whenever the next show is. So yeah, I think that's probably enough about THT. I wanted to speak about him last week, and I love him and hate him at times. It's really frustrating.
I already know who you're about to talk about.
It's really frustrating. Frustrating. And it's Dennis Schroeder. Okay. Dennis Schroeder returned against the Pacers, which was fantastic. Fantastic to have him back. He didn't have the best night. 14 points, 4 rebounds on 3 of 9, shooting 2 of 6 from 3, which actually him draining 2 threes in the game is actually pretty a positive. But it seems to be more of his off the court demeanor that people are a bit puzzled with him. So where are you with Dennis Schroeder? Before I fire the question over, everyone thought he had COVID. It looked like he had COVID. He was out through health and safety. And then he said in a press conference after the Pacers game that he didn't have COVID, but then he said that it's good because he won't get it again. And then when someone clarified as to if he had COVID or not, he got mad, used the F word, said next question, and just got really mad, which was a very bizarre sequence. Very bizarre when the media were just trying to get a simple answer out of him because he wasn't being clear. Where do you stand on Schroeder as a player and off the court and a very important off season that's coming?
Well, I'll start with on the court. On the court, you can't help but like the guy. Like he may not do everything perfectly, but you can see that he's giving all the effort he can on the floor. Well,
he's got that swag about him.
Yeah, he's got that swag about him. He's got something that the Lakers haven't had since potentially since Nick Van Exel. Kind of that lightning quick point guard who just puts his head down, blows past you, and gets to the rim, no problem. Like Magic was a different kind of point guard. D'Angelo and Lonzo were different kind of point guards. But yeah, we haven't had that kind of speed demon in quite a long time, and it's great to see. Like, and he does put an effort on the defensive end as well, but he's really kind of crapping the bed in terms of off the court. Like I don't think he's he has that swagger on and off the court. I don't think he has the media savvy that the likes of AD or LeBron has, where they know the right things to say, even when they're getting asked difficult questions. Whereas Dennis Schroeder, to a certain extent, it sounds like he's taking some of these questions personally. None of them are meant as personal. Obviously, as Lakers reporters, they're there to ask questions that people want to know. And they want to know, you have missed the last number of days. Is that due to an illness? Is that due to COVID? Could you clarify for us? And it was like, yeah, but I can't get it again.
Get what again?
Yeah, I understand where he's coming from, where he thinks he's fully answered the question. But to a certain extent, he still left room for interpretation there. and it's their job as reporters to be like, just to clarify, like, sorry about this, did you have COVID? And then he obviously goes off.
Yes or no.
I understand that. Just it's him making a mountain out of a molehill. He didn't need to make that a big thing. Like, if he did have COVID, understandably so, hope he's okay. I hope that everything is fine with him. Hope that none of his family members are in a situation where they've caught it or anyone around him. Generally, well, hope for his well-being, but he could have made life a lot easier on himself by just answering the question. I know it's frustrating. Like, it must be annoying people asking you questions about your personal life and your thing, but to a certain extent, you're getting very well compensated for a little bit of intrusion. Like, if they ask you about your family life, I understandably so would understand him to be like, back off. But if it's something that's affecting your basketball thing, like, did you have COVID? Just say yes or no. And I'd be like, yes. And I was like, I'm not going to be talking about it any further. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
It made a mountain out of a molehill. And I think it doesn't seem like he's making any friends amongst the reporting community, which helps. It helps to have like the likes of Mike Trudell, Trevor Lane, all these guys, Harrison Fagan. It helps to have them guys in your corner who they write about the Lakers and love the Lakers, and they want you to succeed, but don't be kind of like a dick. It's easier to be nice than it is to be a bit of an asshole. So just, I don't know. I'm torn. I think we're both in this kind of the same mindset regarding him. But yeah, what would you think about Dennis's kind of behavior at this moment in time?
Yeah, I think on the court, I love him as a player. I just think he's very streaky. Like, one minute he'll be like amazing, the next he won't. Yeah. And do you think I should go for that? Little like blonde streak. Cool. I think I'll pull it off. Yeah, I think off the court, I think it's a few times now where he's been a bit dodgy. I do want to add in that, like, he obviously he's a German national, so he's from Germany. So maybe he didn't fully understand. I know that when you watch his vlogs on YouTube and things like that, he speaks German. So obviously, I don't know what his level of the English language is in terms of, does he know every facet of it? Some of it might have been misunderstood potentially.
Yeah.
So it could potentially be that we do have to stay open-minded and not just paint a dark picture around him. So it could potentially be that.
Give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, right now, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, but this isn't the first occasion he's kind of been off kilter, and like it can get for not for us, but for certain people that can get really tedious really quick.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is it's going to be interesting to see how he returns from COVID, because if he did get it, because Tatum said that it's still affecting him now. It's affected his breathing. It's affected his entire game. And then obviously Marc Gasol said that it hit him for about a month afterwards. So if he did have COVID, it's going to be very interesting to see how that's going to affect him going into the playoffs. Hopefully it doesn't affect him too much. But before we move on very swiftly, let's be quite quick with this one. Do you think the Lakers will? Well, this is two questions. Do you think the Lakers will re-sign Schroeder this summer? And do you want the Lakers to re-sign Schroeder this summer?
Will they re-sign him? No. Do I want them to re-sign? Yes. I think he gets signed. Well, my personal opinion, he gets signed and traded, and I wouldn't be surprised if Lonzo came back to LA and he got sent to New Orleans.
Oh, that's a big one. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I think he will re-sign, and I want him to re-sign. I think he's a very talented player. He's a player that once he's signed, is completely just covered. That position is covered for like the next couple of years. Okay, so, and I think as well we're hard capped. So I think that, well, not that we think, it's the situation, isn't it? If we don't re-sign him, it's not like we recover them funds and then dish out 20-25 million to someone else. We can't do that. If we don't re-sign him, there's nothing we can do with that cap. So that's kind of like where we are with that. So as it stands, obviously we're being quite neutral with what we're speaking about here, but the Lakers are going to play the final game of the season against the Pelicans tonight at the time of recording, in the early hours over here. If they win and Portland lose to the Nuggets, the Lakers can avoid the play-in tournament. Obviously, people listen to this on the podcast. That probably would have happened, so we already know the result. You're floating around in the future right now. Or if anyone's watching this back. So we won't go too much onto that. Fingers crossed. Let's see what happens. And there's a question about it in the mailbag very soon. But just quickly, what do you think about the play-in tournament? Do you think it's a good thing for the NBA? Are you a fan of it, or are you not a fan of it?
I'm not particularly a fan of it. I understand it from the NBA's point of view that this low-key gets them another bit of money in terms of viewership. Like, this is, if there's something to play for mid-season, like towards the end of the season for certain teams, it makes it a bit more kind of entertaining. But no, obviously, since we're in the play-in tournament, I'd rather us just be like, know who we're going to play, prepare for that team, and just put our heads down. But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it. What about you?
See, I'm the opposite. I actually quite like it. And for anyone that doesn't understand it, the 7th and 8th seed play against each other, and the 9th and 10th seed play against each other. And then the winner of the 7th and 8th seed goes straight into the playoffs as a 7th seed. And then the loser of that game then gets a second shot against the winner of the 9th and 10th seed to battle it out for the 8th seed. So even if the Lakers go into the playoffs, lose that game, which it looks like it's going to be against Golden State, if that does occur, they still have a second bite of the cherry. That's the advantage that you hold of being the 7th seed or the 8th seed within the playoff format. I quite like it. I think it keeps it entertaining right up until the end of the season. So we're seeing games now where teams would have just completely flopped, would have completely not really bothered, would already be in off-season mode, and they're still fighting because they could potentially get a playoff berth. But on the other hand, I do understand that, play better throughout the season if you want to be in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, if, for example, if the Lakers go into the playoffs, get knocked out, we're going to be like, well, wait 1 minute, we finished 7th seed, and like we're not going to get into the playoffs. But as a whole, to hit the nail on the head of my opinion, I think it's a good thing. I quite like it. I think it's quite entertaining. And just to sidetrack for a second before we get into the mailbag, I think that Knicks game was fantastic. Like, the playoff atmosphere around that, it was absolutely mad. Like, it was good the fact that it was the Knicks as well and they're competitive, but just late season, like two teams absolutely battling it out. And then you see in like the schedules going right down to the final game now, not just with the Lakers, but I think there's an important game in the East as well tonight. It's entertaining stuff looking on.
Oh, 100%. Like, the one thing above all else that I've been really looking forward to this whole season is there's nothing like a playoff atmosphere. There is genuine nothing like
with fans now as well.
Yeah, I've watched regular seasons games for like years where the Lakers haven't been involved, and then playoffs come around and we've obviously missed out because injuries, kind of the youth movement, and then when LeBron came through, and unfortunately we won in a season where there was no crowd. But I always remember back to the times of like us against the Celtics in NBA finals. I've seen some really good sporting events over the course of my life, and just the hair standing up on your arms, watching the entire crowd as one just stand up to their feet for like the entire fourth quarter because they're that into that game. It's just, basketball has that ability to just grab you like very few sports can, because every basket could be like the basket that wins the game. Well, obviously not for the first and the third quarter, but for the fourth.
But then points could prove vital. That's why hitting free throws is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and it's just so impactful. Like, I'm my dream like is probably for next year. Obviously, fingers crossed and touch wood. If the Lakers make it to play another playoffs next year, I want to do everything in my power to get over there for a playoff game if I possibly can. Money is not like, after this COVID time, and it sounds like I will save up the money. I'm not saying money isn't an object, obviously, but I'll have to.
You'll do what you can.
I'll do what I can to get there, because after this past year and a bit, like, life isn't promised, and go do things in your life that are going to be like, you're going to look back with great memories of, and that's something I want to do, is definitely go to a Lakers game, a playoff game, feel that atmosphere, feel the crowd around you just rise up as one, and just you feel like you're part of something, and that's I'm really looking forward to, especially hopefully that happens in the playoffs. It'd be amazing if it did.
Yeah, definitely, and we'll all get over there together as Lakers UK. So to any US folk, LA folk watching, There will become a time where we'll be meeting you outside Staples. Go and get a beer and then go into Staples as all together. So we'll definitely do that.
Not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5.
We've got a Mandeep saying that he's with us with that. So yeah, we'll definitely get that sorted at some point. So we're going to move on to the mailbag here. We normally struggle with a little bit of time for it, but I've left a solid 10 minutes for it. So what we'll do is just quickly, I'm repping a Wilt jersey today, new jersey that I got from Hoopin' and Luton. So yeah, go and check out his site. Really happy with this. First time I've actually...
Beautiful.
No, actually, it's not the first time. I was going to say first Mitchell and Ness jersey, but I've got a Magic Johnson one. But this one's fantastic, blue retro Wilt one. So really happy with it.
I've done some stuff up Hoopin' and Luton before. Great guy to deal with, Elliot. So yeah, definitely give him a look out on Twitter.
Yeah, definitely. And right, so let's get into the mailbag. So we have got a live question, but we'll get to that in a moment. We're just going to get on to some of the ones that we've already got sent in, and we will be quite concise with this. We won't keep too much time on it. So from Tom in the group chat, what is THT's ceiling? What do you think?
THT's ceiling, that's a very good question. THT's ceiling might be a single All-Star appearance. I don't see him as a multiple-time All-Star. I could see him just scraping an All-Star appearance over the course of his career. But that's still really solid. I'll never see him as a LeBron type, a generational talent. He is a second-round player. That was never going to happen. But yeah, I could see him making an All-Star appearance, maybe 2, and just being a really, really strong rotational player, if not good starter for a team. What about you?
Yeah, so I think his ceiling is a 15 to 18 point starter, but without a All-Star appearance. I think he's definitely capable of getting one, but I think painting a picture where we're they're going to be an All-Star. I think it's just we've done that already with all our young players. Yeah. Ryan Kelly's going to be an All-Star. It didn't happen. I can
see him being a third star on a team, but not obviously not star. But I could say on if there's an AD and LeBron,
a solid option,
a solid third guy that they could lean on. But yeah, I don't think much more than what you've said. I'd pretty much I'd nearly retract the All-Star appearance and kind of say what you said is pretty spot on.
Yeah, so about 15 to 18 point start is what we're saying. So AJ as well in the group chat. Road to the playoffs. Who's your preference to play in the playoffs? That's obviously a very the road to the playoffs. Who do you want to play in every single round? But let's just keep it to the first round. Who would you rather play in the first round? Obviously,
you know who I want to play in the first round.
So the Clippers.
I want it. No, it sounds stupid. I've been chastised about this. Since I said it, I understand what I'm getting crapped on, but why would I want the Clippers to get ahead of steam and meet them in the conference finals where they're they have a swagger in their step? I'd rather get them now and have them in their own head about, we never make it past the second round. But what the Lakers, they're champions, they could beat us. They have better fans. We do, obviously. But I want to get them early on.
Anyone does.
just break their spirit early on. You don't want to see a team like that get a real head of steam when they have legitimate talent on their team. Break them early and get them out of the way, because then you can, not saying gliding. There's some really good teams in the Western Conference, but the Clippers. I hope there's a kind of we meet somewhere. I'd love for us to meet in the first round and just kick their ass and move on. That'd be amazing. But I understand why people think I'm crazy. But oh well. What do you think?
I think we've already briefly discussed this, so I'll keep mine short. I think the Suns. I think we're really well matched up for Chris Paul and Devin Booker. I think we've really got the defensive guard prowess. We've got Caldwell Pope, who's a good defender. We've got Wesley Matthews, who's a good defender. We've got the likes of Dennis Schroeder, who's a decent defender as well. We've got Alex Caruso as well. We've got AD that can switch. You've got LeBron that can stay in front of a point guard if need be as well. I just think we're really well suited. I think DeAndre Ayton's a great player, and I think he's going to be a very solid player in this league. But I just don't think he's good enough to to handle AD's threat in the post as well. So I think in terms of the guard play as well, with our strong front court, I think we're well suited there for the Suns. Next one. Do you see Vogel going to Drummond in the post in the playoffs? And this is from Andre.
No. I think he's a means to an end right now. I think Drummond was it sounds very dismissive of Drummond. Drummond was brought in to make sure that AD didn't run himself into the ground before the playoffs started. I think he's going to have a very similar role to the likes of JaVale and more so JaVale than Dwight, where he starts at games, kind of grabs the rebounds early on, allows AD and LeBron to maybe save some bit of energy and get some points in the paint. But no, I don't think he's going to have much of a role to play for the Lakers. He'll still rebound. That's what he does best, and he's good. He's pretty decent in the paint. But I think they're going to lean on Gasol with his experience, his diminishing defensive presence, but still there, and his floor spacing ability. And they'll probably use Trez's just nuts mentality, where he's just going to go at you. He's going to go for your throat every single play, and he brings a serious amount of energy. But yeah, I think he's going to be the odd one out, unfortunately. But I could very easily be wrong.
Yeah, I think like he'll play as and when. I think Gasol will play as and when, and I think Montrezl Harrell will play as and when. I think just as the matchup suits, I think. But yeah, I think Drummond will continue to start. I did say in the last that I think Gasol should start, which I still think is better for the fit. But yeah, I think I was going to say AD, but it still is AD. But I think Drummond will come in, rebound like hell, do what he needs to do, and then he'll come out, and then AD will slide to the 5 in crunch time, and he'll just do a job, as will Gasol, as will Harrell. So yeah, I don't think he'll fall out of the rotation, but I think he'll just be there when needed. So the next one is actually quite funny because it's the same thing. It's actually what I just said. It's from Steve. Who is most likely to fall out of the rotation in the playoffs?
I have a controversial one. I wouldn't say you agree with this. I think that Wes Matthews has a very good chance of falling out of the rotation.
Okay.
I think THT brings more into. Obviously, Wes is a really good defender, can stretch the floor, but I think. The sets unit are really lacking.
We just lost you for a moment. Then go on, just roll back if you can.
No worries. So if Schroeder stays with the first team, like the first unit, I don't like the lack of kind of ball handling in the second unit. There's guys who can do it, like AC can definitely do it, but I'd rather have another guy there capable of being more impactful by being a playmaker. I don't think Wes is that. I think he can be really streaky. So has THT. But I think THT offers a bit more in terms of playmaking. And I think that's going to be really imperative. We have guys who can shoot. We have guys who can make baskets. But yeah, I don't think we have enough playmakers, especially in the second unit, and that'll be really, really impactful. Like if he can get going, I think he can be a really impactful player for us in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think so. I think on the contrary that Wes is pretty safe. I think he plays defense. He'll be put on really tough matchups. He'll be a bit like Danny Green last season, where he's just like given the hardest task to just do all the dirty work. And he can hit threes as and when. I think, as you said there, like if he's firing, I think he'll be a good piece. But I think in terms of players that'll fall out of the rotation, I think Marquis Morris has a threat of falling out of the rotation if his shooting slump continues or he hits the shooting slump in the playoffs. And I think as well, Trez, I think, could fall out of the rotation. I think that defensively he can be a bit of a liability, and I think that teams will target him, which could see him potentially fall out of the rotation, I think, come the offseason, come the playoffs. So yeah, they would probably be my main two. So we'll get on to the last question and then we'll get out of here. So this is a live one again from B-Boy. This is directed at me, but obviously we'll both answer it. Do you think KCP is getting back to that bubble form? What do you think about KCP?
I think he's slowly getting back there, but
the thing with KCP, and it's been like throughout the stretch of his entire Lakers tenure,
Streaky.
very streaky. In the playoffs last year, he showed up big time, and I would not put it past him. He's the type of guy who he seems like he prioritizes games or prioritizes moments in which he wants to be impactful and saves himself for these different things. And if that's the case with the playoffs, like, it couldn't come at a better time. But yeah, I would rather him be like a lot more consistent in terms of what he's doing, in terms of making shots, in terms of defense, in terms of everything. But yeah, I can see him being really impactful if he just gets to season. And he was our third star who really showed up, and I think he can do it again.
Yeah. So yeah, we did get that. You cut out a little bit, but we did get what you're saying there. Yeah, I agree. I think throughout the month of April, he shot 44.4% from three, which is a remarkable clip. As so good that, like, we kind of, when we see that, it's not surprising anymore from KCP.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he's doing really well. He had back-to-back 17-point performances in the loss against Portland and the win against Phoenix. He's putting up some pretty solid numbers. It dropped off in the New York win, but then even though he scored 10 and 13 points, against Houston, it was at 80% from the field, 62.5% against Indiana. Like, I think, I agree. I think I'll go with B-Boy's statement there. I think he is getting back to bubble form. I think he's starting to heat up when it matters. He's been contributing to quite a lot of the Lakers' wins so far, and he can play active defense as well. He's not an unbelievable defender, but he can play active defense. So yeah, I think he's slowly getting back into bubble form, and I think when we get into the playoffs, I think he'll play a very, very big role, as he should do. Really, I'm a big fan of KCP. In the earlier days, I wasn't so very streaky, but I like KCP. I'm a big fan of him. I think he was fantastic in the bubble last season. Hopefully he continues that on, and I do believe that he is.
Yeah, I'm a firm.
Oh, we are losing John. So sorry, you are freezing there, but we'll wrap it up anyway, because we are pretty much at the end. So I think we pretty much got what we were going to say about KCP. So we will wrap it up. So, I really do appreciate everyone, checking out the show. We will be back again next week. We are making this a bit more of a thing now. So yeah, just make sure to go over to LA Lakers UK, go and follow us over on Twitter. Also go and look at the pinned tweet of how to receive 10% off your order at NBA Store EU and Fanatics UK with worldwide delivery available. Go and drop us a 5-star review on the Late Late Show on Apple Podcasts. And if you're watching on the live stream, please drop us a retweet, even on to watch the show back. It'd be much appreciated, and it helps the show grow further. You can follow me at Matt Evans CU over on Twitter on my personal. Jonathan, you can go and follow at Jonathan K NBA. And Jonathan, I really appreciate you coming on for another episode.
No problem, man. See you same time next week.
Yeah, definitely same time next week. And we will get out of here. Thanks again, guys, for checking this out. And we will catch you next week as we roll into the playoffs in some shape or form, or we hope to. Okay, see you soon, guys.